Hello, my name is Spencer, and I like to craft and build things to escape reality for a bit. For this video, I'll make a little land battle diorama using these Star Wars Legion models. So far, I haven't had the opportunity to play a full game of Legion yet, but I am truly obsessed with painting these figures. This fall, once the new starter packs come out, I'll probably assemble some armies to actually use for gameplay purposes. These models come in individual plastic baggies, so they're pretty straightforward to assemble. These models can be argued to be push fit, although some of the angles may require a shove fit technique. Overall, I think they're just really good quality, and I really love to paint things in the Star Wars universe. Although the models are in an exceptional state right now, I'd like to add a few steps to bring them to the next level. For some needed storytelling in this diorama, we will use some stormtroopers from my pile of shame. These troops have seen some things, being used for painting or priming practice, or even just having multiple layers of terrible rookie paint jobs ripped off of them. These 7 models were the ones that called out to me in the moment, so they'll be the members of this diorama. I didn't forget about improving my models, so to start, I'll use some liquid putty from Vallejo to fill in all the gaps in the models. I also made sure to glue any loose parts onto the models, and wherever there was too much putty amassed, I could just go in with a watered brush and wick it away. Then, once the putty had dried, I came in with a fine sanding stick to smooth out the surface a bit. Once I was happy with the models' assemblies, I gave each of the rebels a black prime. Then I applied a zenithal from above using a white prime. I do this for almost all minis that I do, and that's because it's a quick way for me to visualize where the recesses are on the model and how I can start visualizing the paint jobs. The one exception to the zenithal rule is white armor. So for our stormtroopers, we can simply apply a flat white prime to all of them. Stormtrooper base colors aren't the worst thing in the world, as the prime takes care of most of the task off your hands. Overall, it's really just being careful with marking the correct black areas. Once the base colors were established, we can hit the body with a gray contrast, specifically focusing in on the recessed areas of the armor. For the rebels, I went in with an overall desert color scheme, trying to make the models fit into the rest of the diorama as a whole the best I could. While I paint up the rebels in this diorama, I'll tell you a little bit of the abstract of this diorama. Recently, I played Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the most recent entry in the Star Wars Jedi video game series. In that game, you play primarily on a planet called Kobo, which is a nice desert mesa planet, so that was kind of the abstract vision for the setting of this diorama. I knew that if I chose somewhere desert-based, I could have some practice with pigmenting and a couple of color palettes that I'm trying to use to experiment with some future potential color schemes for armies. I have a massive pile of shame from the Star Wars Legion 1.0 model line, so I just wanted to use some people that I had lying around, and for me, this one felt like a really good opportunity to paint just some generic rebels and some generic stormtroopers. As I mentioned earlier, this fall when Star Wars Legion 2.0 comes out, I plan on picking up 2 of the starter boxes, whether it be Empire, Rebels, Separatist, Republic. I don't really know, but I knew that even just doing stormtroopers would provide good practice for trying to paint white armor, and then the Rebels just have, more unique color schemes that I can practice with. It's been about a year since I've started this hobby, whether it be diorama making or wargaming, and honestly, I'm still really enjoying it. I've struggled to dedicate time to it over the past month, which really sucks, but having this project really helped me get out of my own rut and get some projects done that were on the shelf for a while. Once I was happy with the soldiers, I moved on to the base. I popped out some plaster rocks that I had made earlier and tried to see how many I could fit without making the diorama feel too claustrophobic. Once I was happy with the density and the positioning, I glued the rocks into place. I then smeared on a terrain paste to the rest of the uncovered wood and applied some isopropyl alcohol to smooth it out a little more, and to do this I just used my gloved hand. Once the plaster had dried, I came in and sanded the excess down. At this point, I applied a flat black prime to the base. This was actually a step too premature, so I went back in and glued down some ballast, added some texture paste, and then re-primed the base again. Once the actual priming had dried, I added a nice fine sand base color to all the non-rock areas. Then I came in with a darker red color for the rocks in the landscape. Once the base colors were applied, I then hit the rocks with a lighter red dry brushing and applied an oil wash to the sandy areas, wiping away any excess to bring the sandy tones back. I wasn't super satisfied, so I did go back in with a very light dusting of a desert yellow sand. Once the painting was done, I marked out where I needed to drill holes in for the blasters, and I got to work with my pin vise. Next, I added some rust pigments to the rocks and some lighter dustings of pigments to the base. Finally, I put some brass rods through the base and glued them into place. To give some much needed life to this diorama, I went a bit crazy with some grass tufts from Gamer's Grass. Before I put the soldiers into place, I lightly dusted all their boots and then glued them down. Once the glue had dried, I then went in with my soldering iron to put some blaster bolts onto the tops of the brass rods. To finish, I then painted the sides of the diorama black and completed the circuit so we can move on to some of those oh so satisfying final showcase shots. To those of you who made it through to the end, thank you. This hobby provides a much needed escape from life for me, and sharing these tiny nerdy projects with you means the world to me. And if you'd like to see more of my projects, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I'll be back soon with another build, another story, another journey. Until then, take care, and I hope you all have an excellent week. See you around.